Alright, so for our next one, we have 2/3 y to the fourth plus 1/3 y cubed minus 4/3 y squared. This one's a little easier just to look at and think about. What do 2/3, 1/3, and 4/3 all have in common? Well, they all share that 1/3. And then looking at the y's, well, he has 4 y's, 3 y's, and 2 y's, so they all share y squared, because that one's got 2 and they've all got at least 2. Okay, do your parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and divide just right here. I don't want to write this again separately. Divide by 1/3 y squared on all of mine. It might seem weird to say like 2/3 divided by 1/3, so it might be easier to say 1/3 times what is 2/3. But if you actually do the math, 2/3 divided by 1/3, plug it in the calculator or whatever, you actually are going to get a 2 out. But also 1/3 times 2 is 2/3. Y to the fourth divided by y squared, 4 minus 2 is 2. Same thing here, 1/3 divided by 1/3 is 1. And then y cubed over y squared is 3 minus 2, which is going to leave me 1 y left over. You could leave this as is, you could erase that 1 because that y is there. And then negative 4/3 divided by a positive 1/3 is going to give me a negative 4. 1/3 times negative 4 gives me negative 4/3. Y squared and y squared cancel. So then there's that guy. So those fractions do look complicated, but they do share in common that dividing by 3, and it's not too difficult just to use your brain and figure out it's times 2 times a 1 and times a negative 4. Okay, this one over here, he's a polynomial. He's got 4 terms, so I'm just going to do 4 terms on the inside. But let's go ahead and look at our GCF. Looking at our numbers, we have 4, 12, 8, and 4. Well, 4 goes into 12, and 4 goes into 8, and 4 goes into 4, so I can go ahead and use 4. Look at the x's. This guy's x squared, x, and x. Well, he has 1x, he has 1x, he has at least 1, he has at least 1, so they all have at least 1x. He has 1y, he has at least 1y, he has 1y. They all have at least 1y. You could write them all out and circle them, but I don't want to write this problem again. So here's my GCF, 4xy, parentheses. So I'm going to divide every single thing by 4xy, 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 4xy. Make sure I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms when I'm done. 4 divided by 4 is 1. X squared divided by x. 2 minus 1 is I have 1x left over. Y squared divided by y leaves me 1y left over. Positive 12 divided by 4 is a positive 3. X squared divided by x leaves me x. Y and y cancel. Negative 8 divided by 4 is a negative 2. X and x cancel. Y squared divided by y leaves me 1y left over. Negative 4 divided by 4 is a negative 1. X divided by x cancels. And y divided by y cancels. This is probably the biggest mistake I see on these, is that this last term, it's usually the last term, is the same. And so you need a 1 as a placeholder. So students often forget that. So 2 ways to prevent that mistake is, firstly, 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. I need 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So make sure you have the same number of terms. Also, if you just actually divide straight down, nothing ever truly goes away. When things cancel out, quote unquote cancel out, they still become 1. 4 divided by 4 is, in this case, a negative 4 divided by 4 is a negative 1. So make sure you don't ever lose any terms. If you have 4 terms, I need to have 4 terms on the inside. I need to multiply back out and get all of these terms again. If you get rid of this term, I'm going to lose this term when I multiply back out. So make sure you have a 1 as a placeholder. Alright, last 2 problems. These guys look really complicated, but these are actually the easiest problems set up. When I'm looking at these 2 terms, I actually only have 2 terms. I have this term and I have that term. What do they have in common? Well, there's no number in common. I have this big x plus 1 that's in common. So that actually is my GCF. So I'm going to go ahead and take it exactly as it appears, parentheses, x plus 1. They both share that x plus 1 in common. So I'm going to divide each term by, in parentheses, x plus 1, x plus 1. Well, whenever we do our GCF, we always write our GCF, and then we write a parentheses, and then we write whatever's left over. Well, x plus 1 divided by x plus 1, these two are going to cancel out, leaving me x. Over here, x plus 1 and x plus 1, they're going to cancel out, leaving me negative 2. These are usually pretty clean, short answers, so my answer is this, and I'm done. Okay, so doing that same thing again, if you want to go ahead and try this on your own, you can pause the video, but I have two terms over here, and what do they have in common? Obviously not x and w, that's different, but they both have in common this parentheses y minus z. So I'm going to divide both terms by that y minus z. So my GCF is y minus z parentheses, and this has to be in parentheses. Otherwise, you're distributing that negative z, and that's not correct. Doing this, y minus z cancels, I get x. Over here, y minus z also cancels, I get a positive w, and then I'm completely done. You could distribute this back out, but it's a little more complicated, like, to do it that way. Like, it is y times this entire quantity and negative z times that entire quantity. So if you did distribute this out to all the terms, and then just distributed this out and got all your 4 terms, they would match exactly, but it makes it more complicated on that one. So on this one, I just recommend, you just see the parentheses that they share it, so pull that parentheses out, your answer is whatever remains, so x minus 2. They share this parentheses thing, pull that out, whatever remains is your x plus w, and then you're finished.